Story 1. I'm a male teen currently working part-time and have my own income. I'm also the oldest in my family. I have 4 younger siblings, 2 big brothers who are on the spectrum, and 2 sisters who are biologically my cousins and were adopted by my parents as babies. Both have Down syndrome. All 4 of my younger siblings have significant challenges and health issues. Over the years, it has drained my parents' resources and left very little for anything fun. Only when I started working 2 years ago could I afford to treat myself occasionally. Sometimes it's my favorite gummies, sometimes I save up to buy something. I bought myself a laptop earlier this year with my money because I needed something, especially with school and everything, and using the family computer doesn't work as much now because Dad works later in the day than he used to. For the last few months, I've paid for certain groceries for myself since there are so many different meals made in our house, and I usually end up with stuff I didn't enjoy. I decided to occasionally buy stuff so I could make myself something I'd like. And it was one less person for my mom to prepare food for. My brothers both have safe foods, and my sisters are also bad eaters who have limitations due to allergies and not enjoying the taste of many things. I know my parents have been struggling to afford all the safe foods, allergen foods, and stuff for themselves. A while ago, my dad asked if I could buy some family groceries for everyone. And I sat and asked him if I could get more of what I like for everyone, and he said no. He and my mom don't like the foods I eat, and my siblings couldn't and wouldn't eat them. He said just get the usual stuff and I can live off stuff I don't love. I told him I didn't want to do that I was trying to enjoy food more, and it was one less person for them to buy for. We compromised, and I would buy myself groceries on the time instead of sometimes. Then a couple of weeks ago, some food ran out, and my dad had to use his credit card to buy a few extra groceries. I was the only person who didn't run out that week. My parents were angry. They asked why I took care of myself so much but wouldn't help out the family. Mom said it's exhausting having to feed so many different people with different needs, and I could at least buy food for my siblings if I can't give a crap about her and Dad. They said I was selfish, and I should be thinking of my family over just me. My parents said I would probably let everyone starve before I help out. And then they accused me of resenting them for adopting my sisters and adding more additional needs kids to our family. But they said that's what family does, and I should be ashamed. They also said I should never have bought the laptop and could have helped out more financially without it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your parents are legally obligated to provide for you until you're 18, and they're not doing that. It sounds as though they were doing okay until you started earning money. You're already helping them out by paying for your own food. You've also provided your own laptop that your parents didn't have to pay for. When someone is drowning, the solution is not to drown with them, it's to find lifelines. There are programs that can help them. Your parents need to seek those out. Oh, you're not a parent. Don't let them turn you into one. The fact that you have to work outside your home just to feed yourself indicates that they're failing to meet your needs. It seems your needs are coming dead last. If they want more money, they can get a job that pays better or work more hours. If you start buying groceries, you will never get out of this. Even if you move out, they'll still ask for your help. Oh, sweetie, start saving your money so you can move out. Your parents bit off more than they can chew and need to reach out to the countless resources that are available to them. The best place to start is the caseworker. If I were you, I'd contact BCF myself and explain exactly what you said. Your family is struggling to make ends meet after adopting and pressuring you to provide. They won't be in trouble. They'll be provided resources and help for all of you. Also, you may want to hide your laptop. They sound very resentful about it, and I don't know what type of people they are. It's understandable that your family is struggling, but it isn't your struggle. Good luck. Story 2. A household dealing with the intrusion of a nanny who is overly comfortable, bringing her dogs and leaving belongings around. I have a nanny who comes to look after my little ones, a toddler and preschooler 3 times a week. She arrives in the morning when I leave for work at 8 o'clock a.m. and leaves with my husband or me when we get home at 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. She's been quite good with the kids, which is fine, but the only problem is she's making herself at home too much. The first problem is that she'll randomly leave things at our place overnight, such as a coat or car seat, etc. She'll also sometimes put small bits of food in our fridge and leave it overnight when she's coming the next day. But what irks me the most is the dogs. She has 2 dogs. One is a chocolate Labrador and the other is a Great Dane. I really don't like dogs. Originally, I said she couldn't bring them with her when she asked. One day, she had to bring them with her because her garden was being landscaped, so I let her but told her to keep them outside. Well, since then, she just kept bringing them. I didn't say anything since it wasn't that big of a deal and not worth the hassle. Incrementally, she's letting them get away with more and more. She first tied them up to the fence, and then she started letting them run free in the yard. Then one time it was raining, and she asked me if it was okay for them to come into the house for a bit and just stay in the kitchen. And now they're just let free rein. It's in the terms of the dogs that she's making herself too much at home. I find random chewed up tennis balls in the yard, and she set up a couple of metal bowls near the back door. The other day, I found a bag of dog treats in the pantry that I'm assuming is hers. Probably the worst of all is that she takes them out to do their business. I don't even want to think about all the dog do that would be in my yard and bags the poop. But then she leaves the poop by the front door next to her handbag and dog leashes, so I normally come home to a few of those bright green bags of her dog do at my front door. It's just so gross. I want to say something to her, but my husband tells me not to. He's saying that we need her to look after the kids and that it would come across as offensive to tell her that. He said it's just minor things and to not really worry about it. We only need her until the kids are school age anyway. He's quite serious, and we've been arguing over it quite a bit. Am I the idiot for telling her to stop making herself so much at home? I feel like she's just done it bit by bit so we didn't notice, but looking back, she's basically starting to slide into the household. Not the idiot. She's an idiot because you gave her an inch, and she took a marathon's worth of miles. She's taking advantage of you, and it's completely inappropriate as an employee. Let's look at this in terms of regular workplace etiquette. All workplaces will let you leave a jacket in your work area or a small amount of food in the fridge, so those are reasonable accommodations. Would an office allow dogs when it's been previously communicated that dogs aren't allowed? No, making yourself comfortable is not a big deal, but bringing dogs is a no. You need to communicate that to her. She's utilizing your lack of limits to her advantage. If your husband won't listen, you might need to have a direct conversation with the nanny yourself. Story 3. A husband frustrated with his wife's tendency to dominate conversations with lengthy, branching stories due to untreated ADHD. I'm a femme 32, currently 8 months pregnant with our first child. My husband and I, like a lot of couples, debrief after our work days. My husband works in a high-touch, high-interaction job, so we usually say our hellos, make dinner, and then eat separately so he can wind down a bit. Then afterward, we sit in the living room and chat. My wife, Polly 32, has mild neurodivergence, untreated ADHD, which means she tells, let's call it, branching stories. She'll get bogged down inside side stories, background stories, and details that add nothing to the core story about her workday. That's usually fine, but I've noticed it getting worse to the point that by the time she's done, it's time to watch a show and go to bed. I mean, I'm spending upwards of an hour just listening and adding and oh wow, because she says she gets even more distracted when I ask questions. I brought this up with Polly, and she said that I'm asking her to mask her disorder, and that's just how her brain works. I get that feeling, but I'm starting to feel like I'm a side character here because she takes up all the airtime we set aside to debrief. Here's why I might be an idiot. I said, well, we all change our communication styles based on context, right? And she said that's different and that masking is not code switching. I just want some time to talk about my day too, but I don't want her to feel bad. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. There's no reason why you guys can't take turns telling the day stories. Also, you say she's untreated. Well, she needs to get treated. It sounds a lot like your wife really enjoys when other people accommodate her divergent behaviors, but really hates having to manage them to adapt to the more typical behavior of others. She has to give you some path forward that's not essentially you just need to deal with my crap. My mom does this constantly. Is this a neurodiverse symptom? I don't think wanting to share your life with her is expecting her to mask. This may not work with your wife, but I tell my mother I'm losing the thread of her story, so can she get back to the main path? Another thing I do is time box her. I let her know I have 30 minutes to talk when I call her. Yes, she does 99.98% of the talking. And that's fine. But at the 25-minute mark, I interrupt her and tell her I only have 5 minutes left. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. Get to the point, people. You're not asking her to mask anything. You're asking her to work on her disorder to make things easier. You're not trying to get her to pretend she doesn't have the disorder, not asking her to lie about it, and not asking her to hide it. You're asking her to try different things to curb it, like my family members counting to 3 when they were about to lose their temper, or asking a person with memory issues due to PTSD to write themselves notes. Learning how to participate in society is okay. Story 4. A woman conflicted about her sister wanting to use her address fraudulently to enroll. I have a sister, Jane, who is a single mother to her autistic son, James. James was having a hard time at his school. His school district is severely underfunded, and they do not give a crap. The schools where I live are pretty nice, and my neighbors who have kids said that they have a lot of great programs for kids like him. Since I had extra money, I decided to offer to let Jane and James move in with me so he could go to school here. Since he started, he's been doing great here. The teachers and aides are much more engaged than at his old school. They've been helping him work through some of his behaviors as well. While my other sister, Leah, is being weird about it though. The school that James attends has better teachers and aides and has a lot of other activities and resources, and in general, it's just a lot nicer. Leah and her family live in the same town that Jane and James used to live in, so her kids go to the underfunded school. Now she wants to send her kids to school here too. However, they're not taking any out-of-town students, so Lee wants to use my address and send her kids to school here. From what I've seen online, it looks like it can be considered fraud to do that. It's a fairly tight-knit community. People would figure out what we were doing and that they didn't live here. So I don't want to take the risk. Besides, Leah's kids aren't having trouble in school. Their school may not be the best, but they're doing okay. Still, Lee thinks it's unfair that I won't help her kids get out of the crappy school by using my address when I let Jane and James move in so that they can go to school here. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. There are ways to enrich children's educational development that don't involve fraud. Your sister needs to look into that. It's great of you to provide your nephew with special needs resources. He really needed you. You've shown kindness and support within your means, and it's okay to set boundaries to ensure the well-being of all involved. Jane and James moved in with you so he can legitimately attend school in your district. No fraud involved. Is it fair of Leah to pressure you to commit fraud, aka helping out so you have to lie and cheat to be fair to her kids? This is a false equivalency. Leah can get better schools for her kids like Jane did, move into the district. It's fraud, and the last thing you want is to be held liable for your sister doing something shady. I highly suggest that if your sister is talking to you by phone over this, you text her your refusal to allow her to do this, and you keep a copy of that on the cloud so that you have proof that you said no to her suggestion. I'm telling you this because as much as I know you might not want to think this, your sister sounds like the type who would go ahead and use your address anyway. She sounds like the type who would falsify a utility bill or whatever to show residency there.